right? Boom, we're starting. So my name is Andres. This is the Baking Steel Test Kitchen. We're gonna make Stromboli on Zoom today for you guys. A quick story on the Stromboli, then we're gonna get right into making this. This is a recipe from the famous, infamous Jen Lewis from Portland. And few years back, she had reached out to me when we first started out. She was like, hey, I'd love to try one of your baking steels. And we said, we'd love for you to try one. Let's exchange your recipe or a recipe for a steel. And we got the genius of Jen Lewis in a Stromboli. And this recipe is something we make in our pizza classes every week before class. It's a beautiful item to cook. It's made with pizza dough. It's filled with Italian meats and some spices, some red onions and some jalapenos. It's basically the difference between Stromboli and a calzone. The nickel tour is that Stromboli is rolled up like a cigar and it's filled with Italian meats versus a calzone, which is kind of a fold and almost like a reversible pizza. Anyway, we're gonna do this now, and it requires a pizza dough, and I literally exchange my dough for Stromboli. It's the same exact thing. We've got our Delis here. This is 250 grams of pizza dough. This happens to be fermented for 4 or 5 days, so it's packed with flavors and textures. If you hadn't made it, you can just stretch it out almost like identical to a pizza dough, but we make it more of a rectangle. And we're really loose with our recipe here, meaning we don't need to pull out the tape measure when we say 7 by 4 or 10 by 4. You don't need this. We basically roll it out like a rectangle, and we stretch it out by hand because, move back here a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And I just kind of lightly press this as I would my pizza. But I'm going to kind of form it into a rectangle. So I might kind of stretch it like an accordion and just kind of press it out. Could you use a rolling pin for this? Yes, that's fine. Can you see okay in the Zoom there? I'm going to pick it up. And again, I'm just more conscientious of how I'm stretching this. And we say a rectangle. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just kind of keep it thin and wide. Because, and I say square, it's not perfectly square. It's pretty square. And then we stretch it thin. And I'm not going to dock it or anything. I get a little hole. It's okay. Just pinch it over. You guys see how I did that? I put a little hole in my dough. I just literally pinch it like I'm sewing it. Because we don't want holes because that will leak. The other thing I've done is I've taken my baking steel like I would for pizza, and I've preheated it. If I don't have a baking steel, the pizza stone, top rack is great. I'm preheating at 425 versus say 500 for pizza. A good hour. You want a really good preheat on there. Let's go through the ingredients really fast. I've got my pizza dough. I'm using, how do you say this? Maili? You guys can see that? It's a grain mustard. It's got a really nice texture to it. If you can't find this, any type of mustard is fine. But we just happen to it's like a country-ish mustard. Jalapenos, sliced thin. Red onion, raw, sliced thin. If you don't have red onion, white onion's fine. And for the cheese, we're using a fontina. Okay, if you don't have fontina, a low moisture mozzarella is fine. We're using a fresh mozzarella, okay? And for our Italian meats, a sopressata, thinly sliced. And what this kind of ham is this, Chef? Black Forest ham, you can see. That's our Italian meats. We're gonna put this all into this Stromboli, and we're gonna roll it up like a cigar. I'll show you how I do that. The only other thing you do need for this is parchment paper, okay? Parchment's nice because it helps, these tend to burst and bleed. This helps protect your steel or your stone that you might be using. So first things, I can do that afterwards too. I'm gonna get my dough to where I want it, rectangle wise. Again, I don't need a tape measure, but if I were to take a tape measure to this, it's about 12 inches, okay? You can go bigger, smaller, doesn't really matter. little details, right? Mustard first. I like to kind of paint. Can you guys paint what I'm doing right on my dough? This is the grain mustard. This is like our sauce, right? And this has such a great flavor, a really nice bite. Again, I bring it all the way to the edge, but not over the edge, just like life. I like to say that. All right, we got our mustard down. Now the layering, not super important. Some people might tell you that might be the case, but I'm gonna go right to my ham, my country ham, Black Forest, and I layer it on. 3 or 4 slices is pretty good. Again, this is, if you go to the deli counter, it's pretty thinly sliced. I'm using 4 slices, or I kind of ripped this one, but not a great job with the rip. It's okay. My soppressata, just kind of layer this on too. Not an exact science, because you remember, I'm going to be rolling this up, okay, like a cigar. So you want to have kind of an equal amount of ingredients in every slice. And now the red onion goes down. Again, these are thinly sliced. You can see these. Nice cut job, chef. Let's see. After the onions, let's go with some heat. Jalapeno. Okay? Again, thinly sliced. You can see these slice jobs. Look at that. Huh? Nice. Look at that. Check it out. About 1/8 of an inch. Again, maybe 1/16 of an inch. Again, just spread them out. Take a deep breath. All right, now I'm going to go with some cheese. I'm going to go with the fresh mozzarella first. And I literally just break this up, kind of spread it out. Some people would maybe go heavier on the cheese than I would. And I'm just trying to do small pieces. Smaller pieces will roll a little bit easier into my Stromboli. This is a low moisture mozzarella. I always buy this in chunks so I can just kind of grate it myself. Of course, using the Wonder Shredder. Check it out. Less is more. I can be a little bit more aggressive on a Stromboli. There's our cheese. And now I'm going to essentially just roll this up. You want to try to get a good angle on this? Oh, I'm going to try to roll this up like a cigar, okay? So grab the edges and just kind of do a fold over first, okay? Just like that. Maybe press it in. And now I'm just going to grab my hands and just do a roll. Okay? And then roll again, right? Just like a cigar. Super easy. When I get to the edge here, you can see why I didn't want to bring my stuff too close to the edge, but I'm going to pinch this dough together with my roll just to try to keep this thing secure and keep all the ingredients inside. It's not super critical, but it's pretty critical. Now what I'll do is I'll take my Stromboli and place it on my parchment, okay? I put that seam side directly down, okay? And there's a couple of different rules of thumb here. I just want to grab a bench scraper quick. There's a couple of rules of thumb as far as do I want to slice this to let it breathe in between? I have a tendency not to do that. I just take a little bit of olive oil and sprinkle it on, just like this. And now I'll kind of paint the oil over the top part of the crust gently, because this dough's delicate, right? And that's it. That's literally it. So this oven's been preheating for an hour. It's super hot. I'm going to launch this now. I'm going to use my peel and just kind of launch it right onto the steel at 500 or 450 degrees, 425. Open it up. It's super easy with the parchment paper. Close her up. This is about a Stromboli at 425 on a baking steel is about, didn't see that one coming, good catch, is about 15 minutes. So I'm gonna do like 12 minutes, and then when this buzzer goes off, I'm gonna open up the oven, rotate it on the parchment, and then just finish the bake for like another 3 minutes. So it's about 15 minutes total to bake. And actually, guess what? Ta-da! We already baked one. Look at that, like magic. This is a 15-minute bake. It's beautiful. It's kind of set a little bit too now. It's still pretty hot and warm, and we'll slice into this. You guys can see what it looks like, right? I would usually do it in slices, and I'm just gonna get a serrated knife, cut right into it. Oh my goodness. And you guys can see this gorgeous, and it smells amazing, doesn't it, Chef? Gorgeous Stromboli. Isn't that awesome? It's amazing. It smells so good. These are great to serve to your guests. You kind of make like a lot of slices this way, like rounds. Oh man, it smells just incredible. You can smell like the warm baked soppressata, right? And the dough, by the way, the color on this dough is just awesome. Serve these to your guests as you're making some pizzas or something. You will be a legend. And we thank Jen Lewis for this incredible recipe. It's just beautiful.